Everyone, I'll start to get you promoted here, and then we will get started.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Andre, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Yourself?
Pretty good. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, very good.
Good. All right. We got a really good subject tonight. Wholesaling. I mean, for for yourself, and how do you represent wholesalers?
Right.
And it's becoming quite a big subject lately. I have no idea why. It's just, it's like every week, almost a daily conversation now. You know what's interesting, Andre? You remember when you invited me to be on the it was a lunch and learn, I think it was at Sean Murphy.
Right.
Yep. And he wanted to talk about wholesaling, and I was, I'm happy to talk about it, but it was interesting because he really did all this, and I'm like really conservative. I personally don't like wholesaling. I've done it both ways. I've been, on the buying end and the selling end.
Right.
But the challenge is so many people do it wrong. They do it incorrectly, and people get hurt. Consumers get hurt. So I'm going to show everybody how to actually do it the right way. So you make money, you protect the consumers, you protect your broker. And it took a while to develop this. I mean, this was not like an overnight thing. So,
Right.
Yep. All right. I think I've got everybody so far promoted. Hey, Andre, if Gina doesn't come on, would you mind if I'll make you co-host if you can keep up with promoting everybody to panelists and
Sure.
stuff like that? I appreciate it. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and promote you now. Hang on one second, just to be safe. You should be able to see everything and promote people and see the chat and all that kind of stuff. So, hey guys, while we're gonna give it another couple minutes, and we'll get started. Hey, Nico, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yep. This should definitely be one to take notes, but don't take notes so I can see you driving. So you'll get Nico, just because you registered, you'll get the recording tomorrow. So you can always replay this, whenever you want, but we're going to get into some nitty gritty detail, Yep. Oh, Dan Hills, what's on? Cool. Good to see you, Dan. Let's give another minute. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you need to cover before we get into tonight's subject? Anything transaction related, client related, agent related, money related? Everybody got plenty of money? Everybody okay with money? Unless you're a customer of Silicon Valley Bank or Signature Bank, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, where are we going to put it, even if we have it?
Silver.
Yeah,
Right
gold,
back,
silver.
Right back
Nope.
into real estate.
Real estate. Yep. Gold, silver, real estate. And I'll be honest with you, I like crypto. What's funny is mainstream finance still does not understand crypto. They were all saying, you watch, Bitcoin's going to tank too. Bitcoin have you guys seen it today? It did the exact opposite.
It went way up.
Yep.
Tell them GSP, Gary, GSP.
GSP, there you go. Yep. So it's
Gary, what I didn't understand in the news today, it basically was saying that the banks that are going to be in trouble are the ones that have mortgage-based securities, which sounds like real estate. So what does that mean for our industry?
Well, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, that's for sure. And it could go, I guess we should go ahead and talk about this because it's such a hot topic, and it really is serious, guys.
It's big, serious.
Yeah, I hope it is, and I really, I mean, and everybody should say a prayer tonight. I hope our administration does exactly the right thing. Everything too, because unfortunately, I support them as much as I can, but they've had some real verbal blunders with things, and you can't have a blunder with this when it comes to people's money. When people panic, what do? They go get their money. And just to give you a little background here, this is true most of the time, especially right now. And if you were to take and you can find this as all published information, if you were to look at every bank and add everything up completely, all of the deposits that you and I make, that's our checking accounts and savings accounts, the banks as a whole actually only hold 20 cents on the dollar. The rest now through what's called fractional lending, where they package up their mortgages, right, and sell them to Wall Street, and Wall Street pays them for those mortgages, so the banks get that money back. They lend it out again. They can do that 10 times. Okay, so if you put in $100,000, that bank can lend that out 10 times. Now each time they lend it out, it gets depleted a little bit because they have to have what's called loan loss reserves. They put 10% back in on average. So effectively, the bank can lend that money out, 6-7 times more than what it's actually that they actually hold. So that's why in the last recession, all it takes is a few mortgages to go south in banks that's so they only have enough capital, 10% reserve to cover one loan. You see what I'm saying? So if they pay out to cover one loan and another loan goes south, they got to get money from somewhere else, So if too many mortgages go south, that's what happened. Anybody remember Countrywide Bank?
Yep.
Countrywide almost took down Bank of America. Bank of America was forced to buy Countrywide. The one thing that the Obama administration never gets credit for is the fact that they've required the healthy banks to buy the unhealthy banks. It was exactly what was needed at the time, and they did it. Thank goodness, because 30% of our mortgages were underwater. It would have been a depression, not just recession, but depression. It was a major save. But in any case, so back to today, 20 cents on the dollar is about what you get out there. And just so you know about FDIC is not perfect. It doesn't mean if you have $250,000 lost that you're going to get $250,000. They can choose how much they give you. I know somebody whose bank account was basically lost in fraud, $125,000. This friend of mine, her name is, hang on a second, Nancy. Sorry, I won't give you the last name. Her name's Nancy. The FDIC only give her back. They have the option to do that. They never tell you this stuff, but that's the truth. The other truth is this: guess how long the FDIC has to pay you? Take a wild guess.
10 years.
99 years.
30 years.
Oh, Lord.
30 years. So that's why Gary Wilson only keeps enough in my bank to pay a couple of months of payroll and a couple of months of living expenses. That's all I keep in there, and I keep replenishing it every month. Okay, not because I'm nervous all the time about banks collapsing, but I know I'm pretty familiar with human nature when it comes to money. When people get scared, they go and grab their money. So panic is our word. Panic. If your money, if you've got more than 6 months of reserves, that money should be invested, right? It should be invested somewhere. And I won't get into all that because that's another subject for another day. But so back to the subject at hand. Lisa and I were actually texting this morning, about what do you think? And I said, well, I hope people just don't panic, and I hope another bank doesn't fail. And sure enough, another bank had failed, Signature Bank. Now, to put things in perspective, who here ever heard of Signature?
I have, because they
Almost nobody. Here
were
ever-
the ones that financed all your home improvements.
Yeah, well, they're called a sub-regional bank. What about, who's heard of Silicon Valley Banks? Anybody heard of that before last Friday?
No.
It's a decent sized regional bank. It's not like a super regional bank. It's called a sub-regional bank, i.e. Silicon Valley, although they did have a branch in New York City and a branch in London. But in any case, you know, in and of itself, not enough to ruin the banking industry economy. In light of all that's been going on in the last year, you know, it definitely it's not good timing, you know, for something like that to happen because people are already nervous. Now we'll tell you, the Fed did say, I don't know if you saw that, Lisa, the Fed did say they will likely not raise rates like they were anticipating in March because of the bank failure, 2 bank failures. So,
And I noticed from our lender today, I got an email and the rates had gone down significantly since Friday.
really, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, good.
Good.
So the reality is guys, there's so much strength in our economy and so many sectors. It would take a lot to really take it down. But the one thing that's a wild card is people's emotions. If people feel scared, it's you know, Katie barred the door. Now what the government will actually shut the banks down. I don't mean like shut them down like they're going to close for good, but I mean they will stop. They'll say everybody's shutting down at noon today, just like they did with the airlines and on 9/11. The government can do that, which of course create more panic. But that's like a stopgap measure. They can also print more money, which might solve things today, but it'll create bigger long-term problems. And what they did today is verbally said, nobody has to worry. Every deposit in the United States is insured and guaranteed up to $250,000, which technically is true. And that'll make most people feel really, really good. But unfortunately, I came from banking, so I understand how FDIC works. And it's not, that's why I would never keep $250,000 in a bank, not even close to it. You know, a couple months, just follow the rules. That's really what you should have in the bank, you know? So, and everything else, that's a personal choice, whether you invest in real estate, stock market, bonds, you name it, or now cryptocurrency. Think about it, guys. Last year at this time, how much news was on cryptocurrency? Once or twice a month, maybe once a week. Look at it now. Just in the last 6 months, it's every day, all day, every day. You know, even mainstream is starting to embrace Bitcoin. They didn't even understand it, but they realize it's not going anywhere, and it's actually going up. Where do you think they're going to go? You know. So, in any case, any questions on that, guys, before we jump into tonight's subject? I probably didn't do such a good job of making you feel good, did I? I was trying to just be factual, but for me personally, I'm not worried. You know, there's so much strength in the economy. Even though I do believe we're headed into a recession, we're technically started one. It's not it's like a 10 to 20% kind of a thing. In fact, the last recession, 20%, which is a full-blown recession, 10% is a correction, 30% is depression. We're not really, even if the stock market does that, there's too much strength in the economy for the rest of the economy to go down. So the good news is you're in the industry that everybody looks to bring the economy back, real estate, because it has so much of a ripple effect in all these different industry sectors. Is, you know, as goes real estate, so goes the rest of the economy. I'm sure you guys have already figured that out by now. So we're right where we want to be as far as being in an industry. I mean, my gosh, if things go down and foreclosures pick up, which they will, you're in a perfect position to make those transactions happen, you know? So being awake and aware and alert and making sure you're prepared way in advance, which ironically is kind of why we're going over tonight what we're going over. Which is wholesaling. So, okay, any questions before we move on, guys? Let me check the chat box here. Let's see, California Globe. Oh, it's an article. Okay. You're welcome, Robert. Nobody ever talks about this, Jeff Johnson. Yeah, it's unfortunately the news only reports what they're told to report. So basically all about it, get all the facts and figures and everything. I definitely recommend if you're ever really interested in finding out what actually happened in Congress today, because you'll turn on one network, it'll spin it one way, another network will spin it another way. Just go to the congressional record, guys. Everything is 100% recorded and transcribed. You can even watch C-SPAN. But I like the transcriptions because I can take my time and read through it and print it and save it and send it to people, you know. One of the best things you can do for yourself is just go to the source. It's not interpreted in exactly what everybody said. You don't know exactly what's happening. So, okay, you guys ready for tonight's subject?
Yes.
Is Tim Luke on? I think I saw Tim. Tim, are you on tonight?
Yes, I am.
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
All right, I might get you to chime in here in a little bit.
Okay.
I just want to show people a couple things here. So let me do a screen share. I'm going to step you through it for those who are familiar with wholesaling. Please bear with me. Let me clear out some sessions here so I'm not chewing up too much bandwidth.
Hey, you have been breaking up just a little bit, Gary, just so you know.
Yeah, it's been happening like that all day. I was hoping at nighttime it would be a little bit easier. Hopefully we'll get through this. Okay, real simple, basic wholesaling, guys. And when I first learned it, I was confused. So I was like, I didn't understand it. Why would anybody do this? But the more you learn about it, and the more you dial into what's happening in the investing world today, you realize why it's so big and it keeps growing. So in wholesaling, you typically have, or you the seller, we'll call this A, that's the house you're gonna be selling, right? And character C, we'll call him Charlie, right? He's gonna be the ultimate buyer. But in the middle here, you have a person, we'll call her B we'll just call her B. How about that? What B's gonna do, B's an investor, and we'll assume for this argument right now, for the sake of this discussion, excuse me, that she's not a licensed realtor. She's simply just a regular citizen, and she's smart. She knows how to find deals just like we do. Seller says, look, I just need to sell it now. I need money fast. I just need $100,000 and I'm going to run for the hills and never see me again. But she knows the thing is probably worth 125 or 150 or something like that. So instead of going to a realtor, she gets it under agreement, okay? And she knows, because she's part of RIA, Real Estate Investors of America, she knows Charlie has been looking for a place. So she gets it under agreement. She calls Charlie. She says, hey, Charlie, I got this great deal. I will sell you my contract for $10,000. So Charlie says, does his due diligence, looks at the property, figures it all, it's a good deal. He knows it's worth 125. She says, okay, B, I'm going to give you $10,000 for that contract. B is going to assign the contract to Charlie. She's not going to sell the house. She's going to sell the contract. It's called an assignment. And you may have seen this before. You might remember it from your licensing classes, okay? You can assign a contract. You can assign any contract. You can assign a contract to do plumbing. You can assign a lease agreement. But there's, of course, always restrictions. So in any case, Charlie then buys the property from Albert. We'll call him Albert. Mr. A's got the house. So B walks away with 10 grand. Charlie walks away with the house. He paid 110 for 100 for the house and 10 for the assignment, and he's got a cool 15,000 in equity. So real basic, simple. Let me just do a quick pause here and let you have questions, check in the chat box. If you have questions, please let me know, because it's going to start to get a little more complex, but not too much. Okay, looks like I can go ahead and move forward here. Where's my, oops, I don't know what I just did there, but trying to find my next button. That's a good next. Okay, so we just described this to you. A would like to sell the house. C would like to purchase the house. A gets the house or B gets the house under contract. She sells the contract to C Charlie. Charlie buys the house. Okay. Now, here's the secret strategy for all the agents online here. So most of you are agents, one or two investors in the group, but mostly agents. Okay. We'll label her D. Agent D is pretty smart. She understands that she can serve owner occupants and help them buy and sell their own homes. And she can also serve investors, helping them buy and sell their own homes. And she knows within the investor community, like RIA, there's a group of investors called wholesalers. Okay. So she's pretty smart and she knows that she can approach B. Let's go backwards. Approach B.
Okay.
Let's go back. There we go. And say, hey, B, I understand you're a pretty good wholesaler. I'm sure you're really busy. Would you like it if I found some properties for you? Do you really care what the source of the properties are, as long as you can conduct your wholesaling business and make a profit? And B would likely say, I actually don't care. As long as I make a profit, I don't care where the property comes from. So D knows that Albert wants to sell his house. So she gets it listed for sale. So here's a association of realtor forms, right? So it's a legal binding contract. It's a listing agreement. Okay. And she builds in the commission. So she gets paid too. And I recommend, whatever you want to charge, but just say 6%, 3% to her, the seller, sorry, the listing agent. And eventually if there's a buyer's agent, 3% to the buyer's agent. So she right away calls the wholesaler, right? And she says, you know what, B, I've got this great deal. She says, I think a deal. I think I'd like to buy it or get it under contract. So B still gets the property A under contract, but she did it through the realtor D. So real quick pause. Everybody with me so far? And you can unmute yourself too, guys, because I'm sharing screen. I can only see 4 pictures at a time.
Yes.
Hey, Chris. Oh, Chris, did you have a question?
Oh, no, you said everybody witches. I said yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So going forward here, now, D also mentions to B, she says, B, you know what? Again, I know you're busy. I think I may actually have a buyer for you. Would you be okay if I presented a buyer to you? Of course, B says, absolutely, send me a buyer. So B sends over Charlie. Charlie likes the property. He buys the contract for $10,000, right? And eventually buys the property. So what D did is she worked herself into this transaction. Agency. She got a listing commission. She got a buyer's side commission, right? And what else could she get? What could she get from B, the wholesaler? What could she get from B, the wholesaler?
Marketing fee.
A marketing fee, yes. See, the wholesaler never actually takes ownership of the property, which means D cannot collect the commission from her. The wholesaler is not a licensee. So the commission through our broker is from an owner. Some consumer's got to own the property or the person buying it. In that case, they would be the owner. You can only earn commissions from sellers and buyers, not from wholesalers. But you can help the wholesalers and charge them a marketing fee. So what you might want to do is charge them $1,000 a deal, right? And you go find the property, and if you're good, you're really good, you'll go find the buyer and get 2 commissions, you'll double lend it. Okay. So everybody okay on that. You get so far paid 3 to
Yeah.
4
Okay.
and listing
Where is she?
commission and buyer's commission.
Okay, good.
Okay. Now there's more to the story. All right. So let me move forward here. Let me just summarize this. All right. So agent D collects listing commission, buyer commission, and a fee, not a commission from the wholesaler, but there's more. Okay. let's say Charlie, the ultimate buyer, is in a house to flip it. He knows he can improve it, remodel it, and get $175,000 for the house. Okay. So D, remember we said D is a really good agent. So what should D have done when she first approached Charlie about buying the contract to therefore buy the house? And Charlie says, this is great, I'm looking for another flip. What should D get in writing from Charlie when she represents him on the buyer side?
She
Get an
secures
agreement to
get you an
resell.
agreement to sell it also.
Absolutely. Yep.
Maxie's
call it a
happy to
first-
see you. Yeah, you got any clothes?
Artificial, but basically what you do is agent D reserves the right to list the property when Charlie goes to put it back on the market. Okay. Now, so far that's 3 commissions, 2 listing commissions, a buyer commission, and a marketing fee. And what other commission might she get? What's the final commission that D might get?
A listing, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, she could get.
He finds a buyer
She could
for
get
it.
a buyer, so she could get another buyer's commission.
Yep, you got it, guys. So I learned this I thought I'm going to implement this, and we tried it and it worked. Because my first thought was, I don't understand. I'm just not grasping, why would the wholesaler do this? Why would the buyer do it? Why would the listing agent do it? I mean, the seller, excuse me. And the reality is, it all comes down to time versus money, right? So we already knew A wanted to sell. Albert wanted to sell. And he just wanted a certain amount of money. So that's a classic example of somebody to be a good wholesale deal. We know that D doesn't really care where the property, the buyers come from, as long as she can make a wholesaling fee, right? And the only really wild card is the actual buyers, Charlie C, and we'll call the second buyer E for Ernie, who's going to actually live in the home. But that's up to you, the agent, to do a lot of good marketing to make sure you get listings and the buyers. Now, I will tell you guys, we've done this. I know a team of agents up in Leominster, Massachusetts. What is her name? Kelly O'Keefe. And last check, she still does this, and her whole team. This is like, this is one of the main things they do. This is how they tapped into the investor business. Because she told me early on, she said, I go to the investor club and I'm female, and sometimes they don't pay attention to me and stuff like that. And she says, so I decided to just work with a group of people, the wholesalers, and forget all the guys that own hundreds and 200s of units. And I said, that's actually pretty smart, because most agents wouldn't never make sense to them. Why would a wholesaler work with me when they're trying to do this without an agent anyways? So she took that opportunity and basically built a team around it. She had a whole team. Hey, Susan, you got a question?
I do. How do we market these properties without getting in trouble with MLS? Like, how do we sell wholesale deals? How do we market
Well, you still
without
have to do.
being listed?
Oh, you still want to list it?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I have a flipper
Yeah,
who does beautiful work, and he never wants to get listed. He just wants me to find him a property, and my hands are kind of tied because I can't really market it as far as I know.
Well, you can find him or her off-market deals, or you can do
Right.
that.
I want to sell his after flip product.
Oh, you get. Oh, yeah. You're saying he doesn't want to let you list it for him when he's done remodeling,
Yeah, he wants to sell it off market.
even though he's remodeled it completely.
Yes, yes.
That is weird.
He wants to
you know
save
what?
half the commission.
You could probably get more if you
Yeah,
market
he's
for
doing a
him.
smart thing.
You,
Yeah.
He lets me list a couple of them, but most of them he wants to sell off market. And I just don't have that big of a bandwidth of buyers.
Right.
Exactly why we want to list properties for people. But anyways, just wondering.
Well, I would tell him, honestly, he's actually
losing money.
wanting you to work harder for less money. If he's going to restrict you from using your MLS, that's like you're operating with one leg and one arm tied behind your back.
Right. Yeah.
And he may think he's saving money, and he'll even say, I'm going to save if he's actually doing is making it harder for you. So tell us, so you realize you're actually making it much harder for me to sell this because I can't use the main tool. And when I put it on the MLS, do you know that you'd only get me working for you? You get all other 1,000 agents in the area now working for you to sell that house. Would you rather have one agent or 1,000 agents working for you for the same cost? You know?
I have
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, I know you're. I
All
tell you
right,
what,
thank
guys,
you.
they can be tough. Betty's had her share of I call them cavemen. They're men of the 50s. They just you can't get through to them, you know. So, but any case, the other thing too is
I have a question, Gary.
yeah.
Okay, so I got all this A, B, C, D.
Just one second. Another too is when you do this off market stuff
Okay.
for a seller, the scope of your market is dramatically reduced to just the people you know.
Yeah.
Is you can't legally advertise it if you don't have it listed, you know. So again, the seller thinks he's being smart, but he's really not because you're maybe getting at best 1% of the marketplace. But if you put it out there on the MLS with all the agents, you get 100% of the marketplace. You know, I'm sure you probably told him that too. I guess, you know.
Well, he does have one point. Like, for instance, there's a house right now that he's finished and it would get listed for 260. And he said, and I went through all that stuff and he said, you're never going to get more than 260 for that house. So it doesn't really benefit me. You're not going to get more money if you list it. I'm just going to have to pay both sides of the commission. So yeah, whatever.
Well, actually, he doesn't know because when you bring in multiple interested parties from multiple agents,
Drives the price up.
what does it do? It creates that auction mentality, and people
Yeah.
we saw in the last go look at it. It still happens.
Drives the
Multiple
price
offers.
up.
Yep. Yeah. He's missing all of that.
He's
here's-
missing money. He's losing money.
The buyers, they know the property's not listed for sale. They got him over a barrel. They can negotiate with him till the cows come home because he has nobody else. They can play hardball, take their time, stretch it out. Yet if he puts it out there where even two people bid on it, he's doubled his chance of raising the price. But and it puts him in the advantage because he's got one commodity and there's one supply and multiple demands. He's missing all that. He's totally. I mean, I'm an agent, and I would absolutely list my house on the MLS to sell it. No doubt, and he's missing it.
Not only that, you could also sell the house for more than what it would cover the commission, both sides. I've done that.
Yeah.
So he's
Yep.
losing money.
Yep. But the thing is, it's hard to get a hold to through him because they think they're being smart, But tell him
Gary,
that. Tell him he doesn't realize what a disadvantage he's putting himself in by doing that,
Hey, Gary, this is Gregory from
Hey, Greg.
Arizona. Quick question on Susan's case. It's not an open listing, but there's a listing where if she sells the property, she gets a commission, but if he sells the property, he does not get a commission. We always want to go for exclusive right to sell, so we get a commission if anybody buys it. But in her case, to show her wealth, would it help to get, say, if I sell it, I get a commission. If you sell it, Mr. Seller, I don't get a commission because she's not getting commission if he sells it anyway. And that way, with that type of listing, she can show her wealth after one or two times where, like you said, he gets a commission, he gets a price that's higher than what he expected, and it covers her cost. Then that shows her that maybe I should change my mind and start listing it with an agent instead of just trying to sell it myself.
Yeah. What I used to do with guys like that, I would say, look, let's do it your way this time. As long as you promise me we'll do it my way the next time. The next time you do it your way, then you show them that. But I think what Susan's really doing, Greg, is she's just acting as a buyer's agent. She's actually going out to find the buyer. Like she's doing off market kind of in reverse, the way this guy's doing it. So she hopefully would at least get the buy side.
Well, yeah, I was thinking, but if she does it, if she sells it, she gets the buy side anyway.
Yeah.
With that type of listing, and that way she can get her foot in the door. And then next time, oh, wow, it worked better than I thought it was. And that way she can kind of get her foot in the door in the trust and get him to do that exclusive listing next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else run across this where you have a stubborn seller like that? Like they want to sell, but they want to tie your hands behind your back? Yeah, they're out there.
I had wholesalers, well, when I went to this investment rehab last week, these wholesalers act like they didn't even want to talk to me. When I was trying to
Yeah.
tell them, hey, you want to try to network? I can look for some things. He was like, yeah, but then he kind of brushed me off like he doesn't want to deal with an agent. So I guess he thinks I'll take the deal or, but so that was my experience basically.
Yeah.
That's,
Well,
I've had, they either want you to buy it for cash or they don't want to mess with a realtor.
Hey, Gary, I'm actually going to a RIA meeting after this, and I've joined one. It's like I told you in our meeting. And part of it goes back to privy a little bit. I've had a lot of success with that, but I've gotten several investor buyers and actually met some wholesalers. And I just, instead of trying to get them to find a property for them, I just take their buyer criteria down, and I'm putting that in a CRM or a database. And then if I find a property, whatever the price is, I just shoot it out to the database and say, hey, here's a property, who wants it? And because they just want you to send them off market deals, and not all deals are, that's a lot of work in marketing for our aspect.
Right.
But
Yeah.
instead of trying to find a property, I just find a list of wholesalers, and then I fire them off and say, do you really care where the deal comes through as long as the numbers are great? And most of them say, yeah, if the numbers are great, I really don't care.
Right.
And then I just get their name and what they're looking for and their buyer criteria, and then market it to them.
Okay. Yeah, well, that a little bit later too. So, okay,
Yeah.
good.
With wholesaling, again, why would a seller sell to a wholesaler versus a realtor? I'm missing that.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, but they do. A lot of times what happens is consumers get their back up against the wall. They get in crisis mode. And remember, the wholesalers have the same information we do, guys, same exact information, They might be using different systems, but it's all the same data from the county property records. A different presentation. It's basically based on fear, that's what they're generally doing. So, but that's why, Kate, there's people are thinking, my gosh, I can get my money in 30 days, cash offer, because that's what we're telling them, we can get you a cash offer, but they're not always cash offers. Or it's a really low cash offer. We're going to talk about that a little bit later tonight too. But that's how they're getting them to agree to sell, with the wholesaler.
When you see the signs out there that say, we buy for cash now, closing with no fees, less than 30 days, all that kind of stuff, that's
Yep.
usually what they're doing.
Or they want owner financing. That's what I've found lately.
Well-
They all want, yeah, we'll give you a deal, but we want you to owner finance.
Well, that's another approach.
Yeah.
It's
Really
it's
what they
called
amount to
subject
is,
to.
yeah. What they really amount to is they're hooks to get the person's attention. And then when they realize that doesn't sound too appealing, then you as the agent could say, well, you know what, let's go ahead and get this thing listed. Present people and get you all kinds of offers, so we can save the day. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit too, but I want to show you one more thing, guys, as far as structure goes, before we move into the third subject. All right, that's what you should do if you're representing a client. Okay. Now, okay, we don't. I'm gonna send this video to you guys. Beverly, send the Eagle video to everybody. The next thing I want to show you, I'll discuss it. Is what I'll do because it's not in the slideshow there. All right, who here, show of hands, has thought about or would like to wholesale as a licensed agent? You would like to also be the wholesaler. Okay. Most brokerages frown on that. And when I did two of my brokers, in the beginning I did, when I realized how many people were doing it incorrectly, I said, look, we can't engage in this. Not only that, your state real estate commission frowns on it too. Almost all of them do. However, it's such a common practice, and I know people strict in the US. But here's what you do, okay? And I'm going to kind of go a little bit slow here and definitely take notes and definitely ask questions. If you're a licensee, you're going to wholesale, you cannot conceal the fact that you're a licensee. You have to disclose that as soon as you have any meaningful discussion. You got to let them know that you're a licensee, real estate licensee. So the one way to work under these conditions is this. You have an LLC, set up one LLC through which you do all of your wholesaling. This is minimum. I know agents that do one LLC per deal, per wholesale deal, right? Which is safer. But what you do is you set up the LLC, and the LLC use a registered agent to set it up in your state. So you don't set up the LLC yourself. You pay a registered agent. They're in the phone book. You can Google them. Every state has them. They'll set up the LLC for you and sign for you. So you're not doing any office directly with the state. So someone else sets up the LLC for you, okay? Now, you're also not going to sign anything on behalf of the LLC. And this is really critical. So you have to have somebody, you can call them officer of the a corporate officer or corporate manager or whatever. We call them an officer of the corporation. Have somebody that's an officer that can sign on behalf of the LLC. They can sign contracts with their real estate brokerages. They can sign. So you don't sign anything. Your officer of the corporation signs everything on behalf of the corporation. Okay, everybody with me so far? So you're separating yourself as much as possible from the LLC, the activities of the LLC. The reality is you still own the LLC. Okay, and any good attorney can figure this out if they dig deep enough. So let's go to part two. Part two is you want to use your negotiation agreement still. Okay. The reason I like to do it this way is if you go through brokerage, that means you, the broker, and
Hey
the
Gary,
consumer.
you was breaking up when you said only use.
Yeah, use
I
what
couldn't
kind
hear
of
it.
agreement?
Oh, your association forms. Your realtor association forms. Yep.
Okay.
All those forms you see on the internet, guys, don't use them. I used to use them, and I'm telling you, they are not supported in the courts. Laws. And those are the two things that are.
I have a question. So if you said that we're using our forms, our association forms, but we're not signing for them, how are we getting somebody else to sign because they're registered as the officer of the LLC?
No, now you're another person called a transaction licensee.
Oh,
Another agent is going to be transaction licensee. And remember, the rules of transaction licensees is that they're not offering any obligations to either the buyer or the seller as a conduit, a transaction coordinator, if you want to call it that. They're really more than a transaction coordinator. They are licensed, but they're acting as transaction licensee. Everybody should remember that from your licensing class. Transaction licensee is just facilitating the transaction. They're not representing either party. Everybody with me? You're not representing either party. So another agent signs those agency agreements for the owner, which is the LLC, right? And who the other party is, which is typically the seller or buyer. Okay. So you literally separated yourself from signing any documents. Now you got to pay for this. You got to pay the transaction licensee and you got to pay the officer. So if you want to do it right, though, this is the way you got to do it. The only thing you should be doing is taking profit from the LLC.
how much do you pay them?
Yes.
How much do you pay them?
Transaction licensee, I give them a few $100. You know, I'm gonna have to give them 500. I don't know, maybe 350 or something. So they'll tell you what they charge, what they want.
Gary, quick question. When time is of the essence and you're like assigning different people into your transaction that are not necessarily in your team per se, you know, like in your real estate organization, how do you deal with that? I mean, we have a deal on the table and we have to do like a 24, 48-hour turnaround. But then we are dealing with an assignee for the LLC who has their own world going on. I'm kind of like having a disconnect in my brain.
Yeah, it's really in your agreement with them. So these are folks that they are on your team. You're bringing them in, you're calling them officer, things like an agreement ahead of time. And obviously you should communicate and coordinate so you know when somebody's going on vacation and things like that. Now, the good news is when it comes to the officer of the corporation, they could be in the Bahamas, they could be in Vail, Colorado, they could be anywhere and take care of signing documents. The transactional licensee is typically the one that, if there's going to be a roadblock, they could be who knows where, but they could still do everything electronically too. So maybe have a couple transactional licensees that you can rely on, but also you should let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm working on a deal. I might have this coming under contract in the next 24 hours. Please make sure you're available, So it's just a matter of.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Yep. So, any case, guys, I hope this helps, but there's one thing that hasn't been brought up, and that is this. You're still going to have to go look at a property before you have your LLC get it on a contract. So in that interaction with the owner, you got to let them know that you are a licensee. And you're going to tell them, I am a licensee. I'm doing this directly myself. I'm going to have my LLC do it. So you got to disclose. And then you tell them there's people that work for the LLC that will sign all the documents with you and so forth. So in any case, that's how you approach that. You do have to disclose. And if you do it this way, everybody's protected by insurance, right? And this is the only thing I've seen that I'm aware of that's been approved by brokerages and by attorneys. This approach I just described to you.
So Gary, I have a question.
I don't know how many years ago, long time ago, probably, well, it could have been 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And I did run it by an attorney. I think I mentioned her to you guys before. Teresa Martin is her name. She's an attorney in New York City, an investor and a real estate broker. And she runs the largest investor club in the country. And then I've, run it by multiple brokers. Andre and I were speaking before the class. Sean Murphy's pretty high up in EXP. And he said, no, we're with them. So guys, that's the one way that I know of doing this that provides the utmost protection for everybody. It's ethical. It's everything you can do. The only thing that I don't really care about is, we're extracting extra equity out of the property for a wholesale or assignment fee. And my belief is it should go with the seller or the buyer. But that's my personal belief. It's also the belief of the real estate commissions. But lo and behold, this is
that you should do what
as opposed to winging it and listening to what I call the late night gurus who don't understand brokerage that could get you in trouble. There's nothing worse, believe me, than a consumer filing a complaint and it goes to the real estate commission and they find out you're a licensee and you wholesale. I can promise you it won't be good. You probably will lose your license, So the thing is everything could go perfectly smooth for 100 transactions. When a consumer complains, what will happen is if it goes to court, the court will use what's called consumer protection law. They won't even use real estate law. They'll say, forget that, because the other attorney knows consumer protection law is much stronger. And they'll use that against you and you won't have a prayer. So I don't want to put burst your bubbles and things like that. I'm just telling you, in spite of all of our best efforts, the states don't like it. Most brokers don't like it. And you could be doing a a consumer files a complaint. And when the court finds out you're a licensee, number one, you better darn sure have disclosed it. And number two is they're going to lean extra hard on you because they consider you to be more sophisticated than the poor, unsophisticated consumer, right? At the end of the day, what's interesting? If you do too much wholesaling, guess what happens? you get stereotyped. People say, oh, he or she's a wholesaler. And think about it. Most investors, when they're selling for profit. They're not going to use you. They think of you as a wholesaler. They're going to use another agent. That's their wife's or husband's friend or something, because they're a traditional agent. So that's why I really caution you about all this wholesaling. Unfortunately, it might serve a short-term need, but it could cause you some long-term, restrict you long-term. Does everybody get that, what I was just saying there?
Yep.
That stigma? Yeah, it's real.
So
Yep.
Gary, I have a question about if everything goes according to plan, and when the check is made out for the commission, it's made out to, if you put the LLC, if you put the LLC in the property's name, then how do you get paid? I mean, how does the,
Yeah, that check will be deposited in a checking account that's in the name of the company. In the checking account, you're the person who set up the checking accounts. That you definitely would do that. You're the.
okay, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Okay, you're selling the property in the LLC that you set up for this property. But your LLC is different because you don't want to use the LLC that you have for this property that you're selling as the wholesaler.
Are you talking about your LLC you used to collect your commissions?
Getting to and from your daddy's house.
Yes.
It's confusing.
Yeah. So your commission would go to the LLC that you have to collect your commissions, like I do. And my commissions don't come to me personally. They go to my LLC.
Right. But if you're
It's a
doing
property, that's a separate.
but if you're doing the wholesale in the property that you're selling, if you're doing the LLC in that property name, and you're selling that,
No, the LLC for the wholesaler property, that LLC is going to be called ABC LLC or something like that.
right,
And then the LLC would get it on a contract, but the LLC is not going to buy the property. The LLC is going to sell the contract to somebody else.
okay,
Right.
okay, so you're selling that LLC, got it, okay.
Well, you could, or two different things are guys. You keep the LLC ongoing and you run everything through that. Another alternative is you do one LLC per property. To
Right,
me, that's a little bit overkill, but you can do that and then you can sell the LLC,
right,
right? Yeah.
Hey, Gary, can I explain this one way and you can tell me if it's right or not?
Yep.
So the buyer sends the money for the house over to escrow. Escrow sends the commission, whatever you work out with the buyer, to your LLC, and the rest of the money over to the homeowner.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
never
the
take
person who
ownership
sold the
of
house,
property,
they're going to get their
you're just in
proceeds.
between. You're just getting the commission. What's that?
Yeah, there's a couple things here. So Robert, the seller's definitely getting their sale proceeds. You're collecting a commission. I suggest you run it through another LLC set up as an S corp for tax purposes, collect commissions. And then the third chunk is a wholesale fee. It's your LLC that that LLC, that's going to get the market, what we call the wholesale fee of the assignment fee. So seller gets the sale proceeds less the assignment fee and less the commission. And the assignment fee and the commission should both go to two different entities, not the same entity. That could cause trouble.
Gary, you're still in the second scenario when the agent is wholesaling. You're still having the agent go to the property, the sellers, and putting a listing agreement together and introducing yourself and saying, I have someone already that's interested in buying this property. It's ABC LLC. Are you interested?
Yeah.
And kind of go that route. So it still goes into the MLS and keeps you safe, and you submit that contract the same day, right away, and it's done.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, you're, yeah, and it's, you know, there's a lot of moving parts. And see, at the end of the day, just my personal story, I ended up making way more money in commissions than I ever made on wholesale fees. I did wholesale, I did a couple of them, did well, but at the end of the day, it ends up restricting you so much. I mean, anybody who does this, you'll find out eventually what I'm talking about. You can do well one property at a time, right? But just go try to do 7 at a time and see what happens to your schedule and your lifestyle. It's way easier to do 7 traditional wholesale deals. You know, you never own anything, which violates one of the top 2 tenets of successful real estate investing, which is one of them is ownership. The second one is cash flow. Now I can make the argument, well, it's cash flowing, which is true. You're making a wholesaling fee. But let's say if you did it yourself, you could have flipped the house and made way more on a flip than you ever could on a wholesale fee, right? So that kind of knocks that out. And the other one is you never have ownership either in flipping or wholesaling. You only have ownership. The 2 tenets of successful real estate investing are ownership and cash flow. So that's why I ended up focusing on multifamily rentals, and it grew a lot faster than I thought it was. I mean, it went to 250 units pretty darn fast, you know, and there's no way I could have flipped that many flips in that same time frame. It would have been impossible, you know. When I was able to buy one property that was 78 units. We ended up turning it into 90 units, but one unit, they paid me a few $100s a month. So every month for a long time, right? So that's way better, much better use of my time to do that than it is to either flip or wholesale. I love flipping. It's fun. Flipping is way more fun than owning rentals, way more fun. But you don't have ownership and you get paid one time per deal. And you'll find out what happens if you stop flipping. You no longer have any income or ownership of anything. So at the end of the day, guys, it's a monopoly while you can, okay? And within reason, as fast as you can, and accumulate them. You know, all those appreciation, the rental increases, they're all cumulative. They're all like compounding. And I can't begin to tell you what it feels like when you cash out years later and you get all these properties that are paid off, or some of them are paid off, some were still had some loans on them. But you talk about a sense of freedom. Well, that's hard. That's a hard, real financial peace, you know? So when you're wholesaling, it's a treadmill and it's hard to get off. In fact, of all the people I've known to wholesale, I know some today that are still wholesaling. And I'm talking 15 years later, they're still wholesaling and I've already long since cashed out, you know? So they're still slipping away, man, you know, swinging the bat, duking it out. I'm trying to be careful what I say. I know that, the main point of tonight was I wanted to give you the education and some information, and it is an alternative, and I would say short term, it could be a viable alternative. Just be aware of the potential consequences and pitfalls. You know, how many of you knew that if you wholesaled as a licensee and a consumer complained and went to the real estate commission, that you could lose your license? Was anybody aware of that? Yeah.
Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir.
So, if you're just working with a wholesaler as basically a buyer's agent, like you explained it in the beginning,
Yes.
do you suggest getting the LLC still when you're not really working with the seller?
No, you don't. The only LLC you really need in that scenario, Craig, is your own for your own commissions, but not for the property. You wouldn't need that for the property in that scenario. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. So still,
Yeah.
should I still have an LLC set up working with the wholesaler as the buyer's agent?
Not just for that one purpose, because really at that point, what you're doing is you're really going to be representing the buyer. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Because chances are the wholesaler did it outside of brokerage, right? Unless it's another agent who does wholesale and it is listed, then it's a little bit different. He or she, I mean, chances are they would keep the listing. I don't know why they would get rid of it, but or sell it to you, because they're going to sell you. They're going to get the buyer under agreement, right? And then, I'm sorry, you're going to bring the buyer, and then they're going to get the buyer under agreement. So you get the buyer a commission essentially for bringing the buyer, but ultimately it all comes out of the same proceeds, you know?
yeah. So the scenario that I have now, I had a wholesaler to approach me. He wants to look for homes in the MLS for his investors. He shopped the homes to his investors that look like good deals. If they bite, then, you know, I handle the transaction for the buyer, for that investor. He handles that, the paper or whatever between them two.
Yeah.
Between those two, whatever he charges the investor for, you know, his fee or whatever.
So you're acting as a transaction licensee in that scenario then?
Okay, yeah. Because I wouldn't have to have a
In other
broker.
words, he's already got the buyer, right?
Yeah, he would actually find the buyer. He would shop it to his investors.
Yeah. See if he'll pay you $1,000 for that, just to be transaction licensee, and see what he says.
Okay.
Isn't he going to be the buyer's agent though? That's what he said. He said the wholesaler was going to take care of that, shop it to his people, and then he would do the paperwork on the buy side. So he'd be the buyer's agent. He would collect the buyer's commission.
But I could be a transaction, just a transaction broker. Where I don't have to owe them any.
Feels like he wouldn't really be providing representation. He would just be a transaction licensee. But Craig, if he let you
I don't get it.
be representative, then you would be entitled to, I would say, 3%, you know?
Yeah. Gotcha.
But it means different things. You gotta definitely, I know every state can be different, but this is pretty consistent across the country. Transaction licensee is not offering any representation to either party. It's just simply a transaction, you know, coordinator, but that's I hate to use that term, but it's what it is.
Yeah, correct. And then in our MLS, sometimes they charge the seller's agent, not the seller's agent, the listing agent will give less of a percentage for a transaction broker.
Yes. Yep.
Not all the time, but yeah, we do see it.
Yep.
Craig, are you finding the property for them?
No, I won't even have to find the property. Just, you know,
Okay.
he'll look for property, tell me what price range he wants, and I'll just send them to him. That's it.
Hey, Gary.
Okay.
Hey, Gary.
Yep.
Hey.
Hey,
how you
Kendra.
doing? Hi. What about in the case when you're working with buyers who are cash buyers, and these properties are off market, so there is no commission being paid? Would that still be a transactional licensee? Would you be still acting in that regard?
Yeah. Based function as opposed to commission based, because you're really not offering representation, but you're using the legal forms, the state forms, and all that, you know.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, and typically you said the charge for that is what, $350?
I would a minimum of 500, because you're really doing more than a transaction coordinator. You're actually utilizing your license in a limited capacity. So that's a little bit more serious than just transaction licensee, you know.
You're right.
If you look at transaction coordinator is one role, a defined role. Transaction licensee is a different role. It's a next step up. It's just shy of providing representation. You're still not providing representation, but you are acting in a brokerage capacity. Transaction coordinator is not necessarily acting in a brokerage capacity. They don't, I know transaction coordinators that aren't even licensed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the fact that you're bringing your license into it, that to me commands more pay, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And in this scenario, when
Tell you
you're
what, guys,
talking,
where this conversation is going, I wanted to, so Craig, this is what I want to talk to you about on a one-on-one is the commercial guy you're dealing with to try to get a plan going with the team, just like Tim's doing.
Yeah.
And Greg Hoyt was doing something like this several months ago with a different flavor. But I wanted guys to Tim Luca, if you're okay, would you mind, since now everybody has a little bit of an educational wholesaling, explain what you're working on for the team as far as providing already mails, definitely providing the buyers too. So it's short. Greg was doing this several months ago, I think maybe close to a year ago, I'm not sure, but this is a little bit different, you know?
Sure. So basically, there's a huge inventory all around the country of properties that are under wholesale contracts and off market. And there's lots of different sources to find these properties. And so what I'm putting together is I'm working with fix and flippers, investors, and contractors to first find out what their buy box is, what the criteria they're looking for, and then bring them these properties, and basically the buyer pays the commission, and they will usually, flip it, give it back to us to list on the market so you can get paid twice. And also, I've got consumer financing, especially for contractors and merchants, that they can fund their customers' projects for them, and pick up deals that they wouldn't normally be able to get because the consumer doesn't have the money to pay for it. So basically what I'm doing is developing multiple streams of income for the same transaction. So in one case, I find a contractor, he's interested in flipping properties. I go out and I find him a wholesale deal. I bring it to him. He pays me a commission on the sale. He renovates the property, gives it back to me to put on the market. I collect a commission when that sells, when that sells to consumer. Also, if we provide the hard money, the financing for that contractor, then we collect points on the loans. And if that contractor needs consumer financing for his customers, there's another source of income. So I guess that, in a nutshell, is what I'm putting together. There's quite a few other facets to what I'm doing, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. And there's a platform, Zudelio, who basically has a platform full of cash buyers already. So we can take these off-market wholesale deals, submit them to a platform that already has buyers looking for properties, and if those buyers buy that property, then we collect a commission.
So these are off-market deals, and typically they don't have commission built into them, specifically when you're working with a wholesaler, because maybe they got it under contract from someone, and it's not listed on the MLS. So what are you charging for a commission to the end buyer?
Well, on this platform, the standard commission is 5.5% that the buyer pays for us to bring properties into the platform for purchase.
Okay. I just find that sometimes with these, end buyers, whether they're fix and flip or buy and hold, I mean, they typically like to lowball. And so sometimes, it just doesn't even work to try to put a commission in there. There's just no room.
Well, there's another really valuable aspect to this model is working with for sale by owners, expired listings, and just plain motivated sellers that are looking for a cash offer, because this platform offers several different options for, let's just take a motivated seller. They, for some reason, whatever, a divorce or it's a probate or whatever it is, they just need to get rid of this property and they just want cash.
Mm-hmm.
So there's several different options. There's a straight, we pay you X amount and off you go. There's a sale and lease back where the seller gets cash and they can stay in the property for X amount of time while they figure out what they're doing. There's also a fix and list where it's called a cash plus offer, where a buyer will come in and say, okay, we're going to give you market value for your property. The thing is, we're going to come in and do the cosmetic flip, and then we'll put it back on the market, and for whatever the market bears, that's what we're going to pay you. And then they agree on a price, and then there's a 6 to probably 12% holdback on paying that seller. They pay X amount up front, and then they hold back a certain amount. They do the quick flip, and then whatever the market price is, if it's more than what they held back, they get what was held back plus what it sold above what they hold back. Or it could go the other way, where it sells for less than they agreed to, and then they make the difference up in the amount they held back. Either way, the seller gets market value, what the market bears for the property. Then there's also a more in-depth, bigger renovation properties where they'll also do a fix and list, and then also there's a trade-in program where a lot of times a seller wants to sell his property and buy another one, but he can't afford to finance both.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this kick out clause, right? And they have a program where the buyer will come in, they'll pay the seller for the house, which eliminates the kick out clause and the need to have a kick out clause, and allows that buyer to go ahead and purchase a new property. So there's a lot of in this platform, there's a lot of options to present to your sellers that a traditional listing just can't do. And
I would love to talk to you, because I've got a property right now that I really could use some help on, and I'm going to have to be very creative.
Right, because I mean, that's it also allows us to compete with the big companies like Open Door and Redfin and all the iBuyers. It allows us to compete with those big companies, give our sellers the options, the creative options that a lot of times they're looking for. And if none of those work, there's still a traditional listing, right? So it's a great hook all around.
Yeah.
And there's a huge, like I said, there's a huge inventory of off-market properties already out there. You don't even have to go look for them. I mean, you don't have to, send out letters or dig them up, right? Because they're readily available. So like Gary says in wholesaling.
And again, just repeat, one of the best things is if you think you got guys, it's it's really a marketing plan in disguise. I mean, you do have some legitimate bona fide sellers here. They're already under contract with a wholesaler, and your job is to find the buyer.
Right.
Let's say you do that and the deal doesn't go through at the end. Remember, that seller is not under agreement with a real estate agent at that point. You have every right to approach them and say, look, it clearly didn't work the first time around trying to do it that way. Let's do it my way. I'll get it listed. So all the agents are now coming in and bringing in their buyers, and maybe we'll get you multiple offers. You see what I'm saying? And so it's you.
Yep.
You get
It presents all the possible.
right. You get a listing.
Yeah, it presents all the possible options to the seller, and gives you a huge competitive advantage over, just somebody trying to list a property.
Yeah. So for those of you looking for commissions more quickly, I mean, I would, I would look into this, I mean, Tim, I was going to ask you if, we're back, and I want to do one with, Greg Hoyt, and Craig Leverett has a similar arrangement with a commercial person. So I want to pursue that, especially for the folks in the commercial mastermind. There's about 12 of us. But if you could, Tim, I think maybe in April, either the 17th or the 24th, have you do a presentation. I know we're working on that, but everybody can see it right in front of them. And
yeah, I talked to Zudilio today. They're setting up a multi-user platform that should be, if not available by the end of business tomorrow, it should be set up Wednesday, so we can and then I've consolidated or spoke to all the other platforms and entities that are involved in this model, and I've worked out a deal with everybody. So I'm just in the process of getting the onboarding and the materials and the scripts and all the stuff together, which should be ready in a day or two for beta testing.
How long has that platform been around?
It could have been around 2-3 years, I think.
Okay.
They're fairly
new.
Yeah, they're fairly new, but they have a really good platform, it looks like to me.
And guys, they're gonna, a Zudilio rep is teaching this next Monday night on the 20th.
Yes.
They were introduced from, he's an EXP guy, and so I called the next day and they said they would teach a class for us. So Tim's taking the lead on, getting it organized, but it's the same thing. Their offers will bring in the cash buyers, and if the seller doesn't really like the cash offers, then you can list with them, So
also,
either way, you have probability of success,
Also, we can bring in additional buyers onto the platform. So, and I mean, I've got 2 or 3 databases that are just full of fix and flippers and cash buyers and other iBuyers. I've got a whole spreadsheet of iBuyers that, we can bring additional buyers onto the platform, so we have more buyers, looking at properties to buy.
And you think this platform is better and broader than Express Offers? I'm trying in my head to compare the two and see what all's different.
Well, I'm an Express Offers certified agent, and I mean, that was the first thing I did when I got to DXP, as I went and got my certification. And when I went to look at the program, all I found were roadblocks, basically. We can't submit wholesale deals to Express Offers. We can't, there's problems getting offers back to, the submitters. There's, I've looked on the the express offers workplace, and there's always people complaining about they can't upload their photos or
Oh, yeah,
this,
it's a big deal.
and it just seems pretty clunky. Where I've run a case study on this back in 21 where I hired a marketing company to bring me motivated sellers, and then I was working with local investors, and in 3 months we put together a dozen deals and made 163% return on the marketing dollars I spent. And we put together a couple of sale leasebacks, some pretty creative deals, and it worked really, really well. So when I saw Zudelio and the ability to have this multi-user national database of buyers and the different options that they offer, it's just a no-brainer.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Or anything you want to discuss transaction-wise, client-wise, agent-wise? I'll hang on a few more minutes here. By the way, who was on the team meeting last Wednesday? That we broke the record. It was 2 hours and 39 minutes. But I tell you what, once we started in on this subject, it's sometimes, if the best stuff comes out, so.
Gary, we have anybody on the team in Moab, Utah?
No, no, yeah. We might have somebody we're speaking with, but they're not. I don't believe they're on yet. You know what you could do? Andre can tell you if we have anybody in our line, the Honey Badger line. We can look that up and see. So.
Yeah,
I have one person in Utah, but I have to see exactly what city he's in personally. I can let you know, Dwayne, but yeah, we can post it on Honey Badgers if I don't have anyone.
okay, just throwing it out there. I have something with an old client that may be coming up on a commercial piece of land.
Okay.
Hey, Tim, Luke, you want to put your email and your phone number in the chat box?
Sure.
I know Kay was asking for it. And while Tim's doing that, guys, I just want to Kira and Clarence, both from the Charlotte area. They're both new to the team, in the process of joining the team. So welcome aboard, Kira and Clarence. And I know we got some guests on tonight too.
Hello, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, you picked a heck of a first class to be in. So this is, we normally talk about this maybe once a year, but it's like popping up all over the place. I thought we really need to get it out there. And
yeah, so Gary,
do it. Yes.
So like with the commercial properties that I was telling you about that I get, so they're all off market. I really don't even have to do anything. It's just send them to investors. The investors, if they want them, they go back to the wholesaler.
Mm-hmm.
The wholesaler purchases it, and then the wholesaler will actually pay me. So would that be like, should I do it as a transaction coordinator, or should I set up an LLC for that, or what?
Well, what I would do is I would always work towards running it through brokerage. And the reason is it's all about the E&O insurance.
Yeah, but a lot of times they're not even in my state. They're out of state. I just get these lists and I can pass them on.
What I would do is like what Tim's doing, he's going to charge some kind of referral. And there's 12 of us. We're not in all the states, but like you got Dwayne in California, and for example, in Virginia, you got people there, Florida. So you could, because of your connection, you're entitled to getting a referral fee. You could, the ones that you can't do, you present them to at least the commercial agents, because yours are commercial size deals. and earn a little. I mean, that's what referrals are all about. You know, you're helping the other agent out because they're getting a deal they wouldn't otherwise have, and you get a referral. The wholesaler wins too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we can go ahead and wrap this one up. Did everybody grab Tim's information off the chat box?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
I have a quick question for Andre. Andre, are you still having the agent attraction meetings?
Yeah, we're still, they still have them on the Honey Badger group every, what is it, Wednesdays? If you go to honeybadgernation.com,
Okay.
the schedule's there for all the agent attraction stuff they're doing. They're doing training on the Rapid Funnel app. I think that's on Wednesday. I think it's on Wednesdays. And then we're also doing the Honey Badger Leader Group Mondays at 10 o'clock. That's for people that are serious about agent attraction. You can get invited to that as well. So ask Gary for he can get you added to that. All right. And every day I'm with a group of guys, 4 or 5 guys and girls every day, get on a call. And it's all about agent attraction, and it's not training, it's actually making phone calls. We're actually making phone calls, prospecting calls every day. And there's one guy that goes live, he just has his mic on, everyone else has their mics off. It's a prospecting call. And you're learning, listening to these other high-level guys making calls. And it's also accountability too, because we show up every day. So if you're interested in that, I've invited Gary. He's jumped on a couple times. The hour is different. It varies a little bit. It's like from, I think it's 10 to 1 on. We were only doing it 1 hour a day, but we started, hey, we really need to double down, so we're doing 2 hours a day. So let Gary know if you're interested in jumping on that. We're just looking for people that are serious, though, going to be accountable and jump on at least 3, 4, 5 times a week for at least an hour. And, be accountable for making the calls.
Okay, I'm interested in that.
Hey,
Gary,
Gary.
you have the schedule, right, that I sent you?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll have Beverly put that out in the email tomorrow,
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Gary, before you close off, could you tell me where to find the team roster now? Because I can't seem to find it anymore.
Yeah, let me do a share screen. If you go, let's see, into the website. Sorry, this is taking a while here. It's in the GIA resource tab. So if this would actually cooperate, or I could show you, but when you have to click on members area, members login, right? Oops, there it is. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so once you log in, scroll down to the second resource tab, which is GIA resources.
Right.
And in there, if you scroll down.
Okay, I guess I was just
There it
missing
is.
it. Duh.
That's okay. We don't have an installation date yet, but all of this is changing. Everything's going to be combined on one screen, different layout, much more user friendly. I know it's eliminating some steps, makes searching so much easier. So I can't wait to show you guys that when it's ready. They did an amazing job of streamlining this and making it a lot easier, Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just figured it would help to remind folks when they're looking for other team members and how to find them.
Hey, Gary, I think the schedule I gave you for that prospecting, when I gave it to you originally, we were doing 1 hour a day. So I'll email you the new schedule.
Okay. Yeah. Copy Beverly too, so she'll have it.
Okay.
She'll listen to this. She'll know what's coming. I just also, guys, remember the website globalinvestoragent.com. If you click on meet our agents, in there is all the agents on the team. That also has, phone number, email, all that too. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. We managed to finish in an hour and a half. That's good for us. Supposed to be an hour, but I don't ever like to go if you guys are asking questions. Yeah, that's more important than a bowl of ice cream. I'm sorry, yogurt. No more ice cream. Bowl of Greek yogurt and some berries. That's, yeah.
So Gary, can I ask you one more question about investor, wholesalers? If
Yes.
an agent, if a licensee buys, a property from a listing, no, maybe I didn't say it right. From a wholesaler, or through a host, are they entitled to the buyer's commission?
Yeah, if a wholesaler approaches you to help them find a buyer for their property,
Yep.
you're definitely entitled to a commission. They could call it buyer representation, which is what you would be doing, but it still comes out of proceeds. Unless you structure it in the sales agreement that the buyer's paying it, and you have a buyer's agency agreement that says that. Either way, you're going to get paid.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Gary, what about when a seller approaches you to help them sell their property, but they don't want to list it with you? How would you approach that? I mean, they're adamant that they don't want to list it.
Yeah, same thing that Susan's going through, and Betty's going through the same thing. Is try to convince them that even though they think they're saving money and they think they're saving you time, they're really actually not doing either one. The reality is if you're doing an off market, that means nobody knows the thing's for sale other than the people you know. And you're probably
what about the whole Zildia platform? How could that be beneficial?
That'd be perfect for it because they're not obligated to accept an offer. You can submit the property without a listing, and they'll either get an offer or they don't. They'll either accept it or they don't, and if they don't, then that gives you an opportunity to jump in for a traditional listing again.
Okay.
Yeah. I do think at the end of the day, guys, what we're doing here, what Tim's working on, is actually going to help us in a lot of these scenarios we talked about earlier. And I know it's like up there.
You would build your fee into that then, Tim?
If they accept an offer that a buyer gives, the buyer pays the commission. So the seller pays nothing. And the seller is not under any obligation, and you're not even asking the seller for a listing. So, I mean, the seller has nothing to lose at all.
Right.
So the Zildia, do we sign up for that individually, or this is a member thing, or?
It's a membership, and I'm having they're setting up a multiple user interface for all of us that want to sign up.
Oh, wow. I just went to the site and it looks pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it is. But I'll once they get this set up for multi-users, which will be tomorrow or the next day, we'll be able to get better pricing than you can individually. So
okay, so I'll just wait because I'm gonna go get her. I'll sign up now. Start. So I'll just hold on.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, the guy called me this afternoon and said that they were switching some software around and hopefully that I don't know, is somehow affecting the multi-user platform. or something. I don't know. It's all technical stuff. But he said they should have it up and running and ready to take on multiple users tomorrow, at the very latest the next day. And that once they have that set up, that it would be a very quick process to add however many users we want.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm definitely on board.
What's the cost?
Still working that out.
What we're doing, Kendra, if we go individually, they're calling me, texting me every day too. And you can go to the website and see what they promote to the public is, if you're an individual, it's $100 and something a month, 130 bucks, something like that.
129 for a single user.
Yep.
And what's the
If you
email
pick a
address?
brokerage, it's
What's
1,000.
the website
So
address?
we're working on, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What's the website address?
Well, the platform I have, you could go to give me a second here.
And Robert, while Tim's looking that up, if anybody here is not on the team, this is one of those situations we could probably get you included in this whole group price. It's going to be a lot less. I mean, probably 75% less than what.
That's
awesome.
So, yeah, but most of you are on a team. But for those of you who are guests, there's some things we can do like this to include you. Some things, unfortunately, there's copyright laws and stuff like that we have to be aware of. But we generally share with you anything that we're able to, you know.
Yeah, anybody that's outside the group, as far as I know, is sure welcome to join. The web address is cashforhomesadvisor.com.
Cash for homes advisors
Advisor, singular.
.com.
Yep, and the model I'm setting up allows us to become, and I can help coach people or consult. Basically, the whole model allows us to become a real estate consultant, where our job is to help people solve their problems with bringing them, as you know, all the options that are available to them. And also in the contractor realm allows us to create another source of income for ourselves and help the contractor increase their sales. But it also will help us create investors, either as buying holders, fix and flippers, or both, out of these contractors who have the skills to do it. And we have the resources and inventory and wherewithal to help them do that. So, and then also with the hard money funding, we can make money off the loan points too. So, it's a win-win for everybody, and it gives us a lot more tools to work with than the traditional agent.
Okay, sounds good. Can't wait.
Everybody else set?
Thanks, guys. I'm heading out.
Great call, Gary. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're
Great
welcome.
call. Hope I
Thanks,
found that
Gary.
one. I
Tim,
may
I'll
have
be
found that one
contacting
thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Now we're all speaking at once. Tim, I'll be contacting you.
All right.
Hey guys, you all have a wonderful night. God bless you and your families, and we'll see you next Monday. And if you haven't set up a one-on-one yet, I know you got to do it with a. So you're looking at now Thursday and Friday, or the following week. But if you haven't had a one-on-one, please set them up. Otherwise, I'll see you next Monday night. Okay, guys?
Right.
What's next Monday night going to be about, Gary?
That's the Zoo deal. You guys are coming on.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
Night.